Have you ever wondered why you lose the interest of people who seem totally attracted to you? Today you'll discover the 5 fatal mistakes that are sabotaging your attractiveness, and the best part, you'll learn how to correct them immediately. The difference between being ignored or desired lies in what you'll do in the next few minutes. You've noticed how some people seem to have a natural magnetism, right? It's not coincidence or genetics. Seduction is a science, and today we're going to dismantle the mistakes that are costing you valuable connections. The first one, and perhaps the most devastating, is your tendency toward emotional reactivity. Reacting impulsively is handing over your power on a silver platter. Every time you jump to defend yourself when someone comments about you, every time you visibly get upset when things don't go as expected, you're showing all your cards. The person in front of you immediately knows which buttons to push to manipulate you. As Strauss said, emotional control isn't the absence of emotions, but the ability to choose which ones to express. Has it happened to you that someone makes a slightly provocative comment and you immediately feel the need to justify yourself? That moment, right there, is where you lose your attractiveness. People with true magnetism have mastered the art of measured response, not impulsive reaction. Think about this everyday example. You're on a date and your companion mentions that you seem nervous. The average person immediately responds, "I'm not nervous at all. Why do you say that?" Their voice rises, their posture changes, and in that precise instant they've handed over all their power. The truly attractive person, on the other hand, might slightly smile and say, "Interesting observation, maintaining mystery and control of the situation." Here's your first practical exercise. For the next 3 days, every time you feel the urge to react defensively, stop. Take a deep breath, counting to 5. Observe the sensation in your body, that urgency to respond immediately, and let it pass. Then, respond from a place of calm and control. Repeat this phrase: "I choose my response. I don't react by instinct." Reactivity is an indicator of insecurity that anyone can detect from miles away. People with true presence don't need to constantly defend themselves because their value isn't at stake with every interaction. Want to transform your social presence and multiply your attractiveness? Subscribe right now to this channel and hit the notification bell. Every week we share practical strategies that will completely change how others perceive you. And if you think emotional reactivity is a serious problem, the second mistake you're making could be systematically destroying any possibility of maintaining the interest of someone attractive in your life. And we'll talk about that in the next point. The second fatal mistake is excessive availability and the inability to let go. Strauss explains it perfectly. Attachment is the fastest way to kill desire. When you desperately cling to a connection, when you're always available, when you reply to messages instantly no matter what you're doing, you're communicating one thing: you don't have a worthwhile life of your own. The uncomfortable truth is that scarcity creates value. It's not about playing manipulative games, but understanding fundamental human psychology. We don't value what we obtain without effort. Have you noticed how we chase what seems to move away from us? That's not a human defect. It's simply how we're programmed. Think about the last time you met someone who seemed to have a vibrant social circle, intense passions, and a full life even before meeting you. Weren't you curious? Didn't you wonder what it would be like to be part of that world? That person didn't need to chase you because they had something much more powerful, a life that didn't depend on your validation. Now contrast that with the last time someone cancelled all their plans for you in the first week of knowing you. The initial attraction probably evaporated quickly, right? Ask yourself honestly, how many times have you stayed in relationships that drain your energy simply because you were afraid of being alone? How many times have you tolerated mediocre treatment because you feared losing the connection? This scarcity mindset is precisely what repels people who could really value you. Here's your second exercise. Identify a relationship or connection that you're holding on to too tightly. For the next week, give yourself permission to let go a little. If you normally respond to messages in seconds, wait an hour. If you're usually the one who always initiates contact, wait for the other person to do it. Observe what happens not only with them, but with you. Repeat this phrase: What is meant for me will flow without effort. I don't need to force connections. When you learn to let go, something magical happens. Your energy changes. You no longer project neediness, you project abundance. And abundance is irresistibly attractive. Have you noticed what kind of people tend to attract more interest in any social environment? I'll give you a hint. They're not the ones trying to please everyone. They're those who know exactly who they are and aren't afraid to show it, even if that means not being liked by everyone. That authenticity is magnetic. Before continuing with the third devastating mistake, I want to remind you that these strategies have transformed thousands of people's lives. If you're receiving value from this content, make sure to like it and share it with someone who could benefit. Now, get ready to discover the third mistake that's silently sabotaging your attractiveness, and we'll talk about that in the next point. The third mistake that's killing others' interest in you is your inability to maintain mystery and control what you reveal. In a world where everyone overshares, silence is power. Neil Strauss observed that in the age of information overload, what remains unsaid is what truly seduces. Most people have no control over what comes out of their mouth. They talk out of nervousness, to fill uncomfortable silences, to demonstrate value, or simply out of habit. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Every unnecessary word you utter is a lost opportunity to create intrigue and a piece of information that others can use to categorize you. Have you found yourself telling your whole life story on a first date, sharing your insecurities with people you barely know, explaining your future plans in detail to anyone who asks? That's exactly the behavior that's diluting your attractiveness. Truly magnetic people have mastered the art of selective revelation. It's not that they're fake or manipulative, but they understand that not everyone has earned the right to know their most intimate thoughts. They understand the power of unveiling layers gradually, creating a narrative that invites others to want to discover more. Think about a movie that completely captivated you. It probably didn't reveal everything in the first 5 minutes. It kept you in suspense, revealing crucial information at strategic moments. Your social presence should function with the same narrative intelligence. An everyday example. At a social gathering, the average person will respond to the question, "What do you do?" with a detailed answer about their job, their work frustrations, and their career plans. The magnetic person might respond with something like, "I help people rediscover parts of themselves they had forgotten," an answer that naturally invites more questions and creates genuine curiosity. Your third practical exercise is this. For the next week, practice the art of concise and intriguing response. Before answering any question, ask yourself, do I need to reveal all this? Could I give an answer that generates more curiosity? Practice taking pauses before speaking and observe how those moments of silence create tension and attention. Repeat this phrase, "My silence has power. I don't need to fill every space with words." Mystery control is not just about what you say, but also about your body language. A neutral face and relaxed posture communicate more confidence than 1,000 words. When you can't be easily read, you become infinitely more interesting. Have you noticed how some people seem to have a presence that fills the room without saying almost anything? That's the energy we're looking to cultivate. It's no coincidence that the most fascinating people are often also the most selective with their words. Mystery has an almost hypnotic power because it activates our natural curiosity. Humans are problem solvers by nature. We're attracted to puzzles, mysteries, what we can't easily decipher. When you become that interesting enigma, you awaken a primal instinct in others, the desire to solve the puzzle you represent. And now get ready, because the fourth mistake you're making could be completely sabotaging your attractiveness, even if you've managed to master the first 3 points. And we'll talk about that in the next point. The fourth devastating mistake is your inability to prioritize yourself and establish clear boundaries. The truth that few understand is that your perceived value is directly related to how you allow others to treat you. Neil Strauss brilliantly summarized it. People will treat you exactly as you teach them to treat you. Most of us grew up with the idea that being kind means always being available, saying yes to everything, and putting others' needs before our own. But this constant people-pleasing mindset is exactly what's eroding your social attractiveness. Have you found yourself cancelling your own plans to accommodate someone else? Have you accepted mediocre treatment for fear of losing a connection? Have you ignored your own emotional needs to avoid conflicts? Every time you do this, you're sending a powerful message. My time, my needs, and my boundaries are less important than yours. People with true social magnetism have understood a fundamental paradox. The more you value yourself, the more others will value you. It's not selfishness, it's self-respect. And self-respect is possibly the most attractive quality you can develop. Think about this everyday example. Someone invites you to an event at the last minute, after you clearly already had plans. The average person cancels their original plans to not disappoint the new inviter, especially if there's romantic interest involved. The person with true personal value responds, "I have plans tonight, but I'm free on Thursday," without feeling the need to explain or justify. This simple response communicates tons of information about your value. Here's your fourth practical exercise. For the next week, identify a situation where you would typically yield your own needs or boundaries. It can be as simple as saying no to a request you would normally accept to please someone, or establishing a clear limit on your time or availability. When you do it, observe not only others' reaction, but also how you feel. Repeat this phrase: "My needs are valid. My boundaries are necessary." The fascinating thing about establishing healthy boundaries is that, contrary to what you might fear, you don't push away people of value. Actually, you attract those who resonate with your level of self-respect and filter out those who are only interested in what they could get from you. Have you noticed how some people seem to attract relationships where they are constantly undervalued or taken for granted? It's not bad luck or coincidence. It's the direct result of not establishing clear standards from the beginning. The truth is that unattainable people aren't afraid to lose connections that don't serve them. They understand that every time they tolerate behavior that violates their standards, they're trading their long-term value for short-term comfort. If you really want to transform how others respond to your presence, you must be willing to risk losing some connections. The paradox is that when you're willing to lose it all to maintain your standards, you rarely lose what really matters. If you've been receiving value from these strategies, take a second to like this video and activate the notification bell. We're building a community of people committed to their personal and social development, and your participation matters. And now, let me reveal the fifth and possibly most powerful mistake that's sabotaging your social attractiveness. Mastering this aspect could completely catapult how others perceive you, and we'll talk about that in the next point. The fifth fatal mistake, the one that really separates magnetic people from forgettable ones, is the lack of an authentic and congruent presence. Neil Strauss expressed it perfectly. The most powerful attraction doesn't come from what you do, but from who you are when you do it. Most people live in a constant state of internal fragmentation. They say one thing but feel another. They profess certain values but act in contradiction to them. They express confidence verbally, while their body language screams insecurity. This incongruence is perceptible at a subconscious level and instantly erodes your credibility and attractiveness. Have you ever met someone who, without being physically impressive or particularly extroverted, simply had a presence that filled the room? That's the energy of total congruence, when your thoughts, words, and actions are perfectly aligned. Congruence can't be faked, and that's precisely its power. In a world full of people who are one version on Monday, another on Tuesday, and a completely different one depending on who they're with, being consistently yourself becomes your superpower. Think about this example. Imagine someone who says they value honesty, but then you catch them in small lies or exaggerations. Now compare them with someone who keeps their word even when it's inconvenient or costly. Which of these people inspires more trust and respect? The answer is obvious. Truly magnetic people aren't perfect, but they are perfectly authentic. They don't need to pretend to be more than they are because they've done the internal work to genuinely accept themselves. And paradoxically, this self-acceptance is what allows them to keep evolving without resistance. Your fifth practical exercise is this. For the next week, identify areas where you might be living in incongruence. Are there values you profess but don't practice? Are there feelings you repress instead of processing them healthily? Are there parts of yourself you hide for fear of rejection? Begin to gradually align these areas. Repeat this phrase: my authenticity is my true power. I don't need to be perfect, just perfectly me. When you reach this level of authentic presence, something extraordinary happens. People begin to feel inexplicably attracted to you. Not because you're doing something specific to impress them, but because your internal congruence creates a field of psychological safety around you. In a world of masks and pretenses, your authenticity becomes a magnet. Have you wondered why some people can say exactly the same thing as you but generate a completely different response? It's not the words, it's the energy behind them. It's the total alignment between what you believe, what you say, and how you live it. Authentic presence has a physical component too. People with true magnetism fully inhabit their body. They're not trapped in their head, analyzing every word or gesture. They're completely present in the moment, genuinely listening, authentically connecting. Here's the truth that few understand. Real seduction isn't something you do, it's something you embody. It's not tactics or techniques, but a state of being. When you become someone who doesn't need external validation because you've done the internal work, your presence becomes effortlessly magnetic. Being unattainable doesn't mean being inaccessible. It means being so complete in yourself that others can feel that being with you adds to their lives, but you're not dependent on their approval to feel complete. The final paradox is this: when you stop trying to impress, that's when you impress the most. When you stop chasing, that's when you attract. When you stop needing, that's when you receive. This is the final secret that separates forgettable people from the truly unforgettable ones. If you've been making these 5 fatal mistakes, emotional reactivity, excessive availability, lack of mystery, inability to prioritize yourself, and absence of authentic presence, don't blame yourself. These patterns are often formed early in our lives as social survival strategies. What's important isn't how you got here, but the commitment you make now to transform your social presence. You came this far because something in you recognizes the truth of what we've discussed. You know you deserve more. You know you're capable of generating the kind of presence that naturally attracts the right people into your life. The path to becoming truly unattainable isn't an act of arrogance, but of genuine personal power. It's understanding that your value isn't determined by external validation. It's establishing clear standards about how you allow others to treat you. It's cultivating such a solid relationship with yourself that you become a magnetic force. I invite you to leave a comment below with these words: I choose my personal power. From today on, I am unattainable for anything that doesn't add value to my life. This simple act of public declaration will solidify your commitment to this new way of being. Remember that transforming your social presence isn't a destination, it's a journey. There will be days when you fall back into old patterns, and that's okay. What's important is your commitment to your continuous growth. If this content has been valuable to you, make sure to subscribe to this channel and activate the notification bell. We share practical strategies like these every week to help you develop a magnetic and authentic presence. Share this video with someone you think could benefit from these strategies. Sometimes, the most valuable gift you can give someone you care about is the opportunity to grow. And remember, true magnetism doesn't come from superficial tricks or tactics. It comes from doing the internal work necessary to become the best version of yourself. When you become unattainable for the mediocre, you become irresistible for the extraordinary.